Hi everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good afternoon. It's great to see you all. I'm really excited to do this live today. There's a ton of information we're going to talk about and have two small business owners join us to share their story and share more about their funding success and about their business. So we'll loop them in a few minutes. But thanks as always for joining us on the live. It means a lot, and hopefully this time works for folks. We've done it earlier in the day, so there's a bunch we want to get to today. Here's the general outline. First of all, let me go back up to the agenda. We did a live last week with 3 small business owners, which went fantastic. So this is going to be a regular segment. At least once a week, we plan on it, and we're really excited to have Eliana and Diana today. So we'll bring them on in a bit. By the way, here's the post we did. If you want to see video clips of the folks we talked to last week, here's Pam. She was denied 6 times for an EIDL loan, finally got approved, was able to pay off debt, get new equipment. Just incredible story. There's about a 3-minute clip here. You can go to helloskip.com/blog to hear her story. Really incredible. Same with Ali and his business down in Los Angeles. His story about persisting. It took him months to get through the EIDL process, talking to the IRS. A 3-minute clip here. And Jay as well, who has a business between Alabama and DC for dogs. But I won't spoil their stories. He's been able to keep his 100+ employees. So incredible stories on the Skip blog. I'll talk more about that later. And so like I said, we will have guests in a bit. Then at the end, we're going to have David join us again from our team, one of our concierges, to talk about EIDL funding and some new information on the 500,000+ EIDL loans. So David's going to talk about that. And as always, we're going to answer questions. But the main theme today is, of course, to talk about inflation and how that's affecting folks. So please, would love to hear your comments. You can leave your comments. I think you have to be a subscriber. We made it so subscribers only can comment today, and we'll be answering questions as well. So let me first give a quick news roundup before we bring on our guests. There's been a ton of inflation talk and supply chain talk. This is the news from earlier today from the Wall Street Journal. Oil rises, stocks climb. Despite the Russia-Ukraine situation, oil has gone up. This is positive to see a rally, but most of the other reports continue to talk about how bad inflation is. And as a result, this just came out today as well. So Jerome Powell, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, said they will plan to do a 0.25 percentage point rate increase, I think this month. So we're in March now. This month, they're going to increase the rate of the Fed. And basically, they do that to curb inflation. So let me pull out a couple quotes here. So there's a lot of economic uncertainty, especially with the war going on. But inflation is above the 2% mark. So let me pull out, where did he, here we go. Jerome Powell said, the quote, he has an expectation that inflation will peak and begin to come down this year. To the extent inflation comes down and higher or is more persistently high than that, they will prepare to move more aggressively. By moving more aggressively, he means increasing the rates even more aggressively. So 0.5 point increase is the largest since 2000. It's basically to say, look, the cheap capital time is over. Inflation is off the charts, and it's affecting everyone in the U.S. Small businesses, consumers. So, to the extent inflation is affecting you, apologies. Please leave a comment. We'd love to hear. So it's a great article, and here's another big takeaway. Consumer prices rose 6.1% in January from a year earlier. It's nuts. And last year, most of the criticism was about the supply chain bottlenecks. Okay, it's because of supply chain bottlenecks, which is still true to a large extent, but it's certainly shifted. So where it's not as important. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So prices continue to go up. A lot of business owners that we talk to are talking about how they can pass on increased costs to the consumer if that's possible. One more thing I want to pull up is a new post we just put up probably an hour ago. So this is breaking. This is somewhat breaking news. Here we go. Last week we released a major EIDL survey last week. Tons of data. For most of you watching, you are entrepreneurs or small business owners. And so there's a lot of great data in that one. Here's the new takeaway we just put up. 88% of minority-owned EIDL recipients are still looking for more funding. Really interesting post from our team with a lot of good data. We hope this supports policymakers who are saying, oh yeah, we need to increase the funding, or there's a lot of corporations that are doing grant programs as well. But just a few headlines here. Nearly 90% of minority and women-owned businesses need more funding. Here's how that looks. We asked the question, do you need more funding if you already received some? And here, the answers are yes. Of course, it's not surprising, but that it's the majority. But to the extent that it's 90% was a bit surprising for me anyway. And 2/3 of minority and women-owned businesses received the targeted EIDL grant. The last data point here that I want to mention is over 60% of minority and women-owned businesses that received EIDL would have closed without it. So this is on par with the total sample size. 60% of folks said they would have closed without this EIDL funding. So I know because the SBA tunes in quite a bit. So it's a great program. Feel free to read those posts. There's another article I want to bring up in a bit that talks about inflation data specifically from Goldman Sachs. But as always, I love hearing where everyone's watching from. So please leave in the comments where you're watching from, and would love to hear. So Golf Kitchen, thanks for the question. Do you have access to SBA folks that can help on a timely basis? No, we do not have a back door to the SBA, but we have people who worked at the SBA before who can help you. I think you're referring to our support. Without further ado, like I said, we're gonna talk to David at the end and talk about inflation. But I want to bring in Eliana here and welcome you. So let me do that here. And hey, Eliana.
Hey, Ryder, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Thank you for inviting me, guys.
Thank you so much for joining. Let me give a quick intro. Your business is Top and Bottom Wear, based in Philly, and you founded this company in 2007. You have 5 employees, and looks like you had success with the EIDL, 203,000. So obviously would love to hear what you're going through now, a little bit about your business to start, and then, some of the challenges you're facing now. So it's great to have you.
Well, again, thank you guys for inviting us to this, wonderful tool I would call it, because I am watching your videos like on a regular basis, and the help that you guys have provided in terms of guidelines and information and everything has been tremendous for us. And I'm sure for many businesses like ours. Um, we are some of the lucky ones. I mean, I was at the video last week. I watched it, and I see these people that they were denied several times, and it was excruciating. Fortunately for us, it was not that bad. We got approved on this first round. Second round, we waited a little bit, and we have to reach out several times to the SBA. But given the fact that we had everything in order, and we were getting information from you guys, and doing exactly what we were told to do, we were successful as well in the second round.
And that was
So
the increase. Was that the increase over
that was an
150?
increase, yeah, to the point that we had already we maxed out our eligibility in terms of amount. But it was a very big help, because like you were saying before, we would have closed if it wasn't for this assistance. The challenges that we're facing at the moment, of course, everybody's talking about inflation. I mean, we did have, or we still are experiencing challenges in with the supply chain shortages, because we provide uniforms. Those are seasonal items. The whole world was closed down for a year, so we're still experiencing those challenges. I mean, to the point that I was telling Robert yesterday, an order that we placed back in October, it was just delivered today. So those are many months of waiting. That's one thing. And another thing, of course, inflation, which, I always try to be optimistic with everything. And as bad as things may seem, again, we are lucky to have great clients, in the sense that I don't know if they're just great because they like us, or they're just adjusting their expectations in terms of increase of everything. So nobody is pretty much complaining. So yes, we get products that are more expensive, and we, whatever budgets we had allocated for this year have been impacted by inflation, but we are not getting pushback from clients. But the impact is still there in terms of our cost structure, and how we're gonna, navigate that part of that extra portion of a budget.
Well, how has since the pandemic? I mean, I would love to hear how your customers have changed. Sounds like you've been lucky. You've had your customers stick around.
Well, stick around, not necessarily stick around, meaning, during the pandemic, of course, nobody is wearing uniforms. Nobody is even going to work. Like I'm talking, I mean, can I mention companies, clients that we work with, or?
Yeah, if you're allowed to mention them,
Let's
we're happy
say
to share them.
the MTA, they're the Canal Corporation of New York. They're not having employees actually going into work, so they don't need the uniforms. So for a year, yes, we did have a strong dip in terms of purchasing. People were not buying stuff. It's coming up again. It's coming around again. Same clients. It's not that we lost clients, but they were not buying for a couple of seasons.
Right.
And but they're getting back slowly. But as they're getting back, we're facing this, more expensive product, longer delivery times, and but I think it's part of the the whole buzz about, inflation and everything, all the information. I wouldn't call it buzz, but like information about what is happening, and people are responding well to to those increases. I guess everybody's going to have to start adjusting. And this is one of the reasons why you were also talking about it right now,
Mm-hmm.
why a majority of small businesses like ours are going to be in need of more funding.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is something that it's been impacting, and it will be impacting the small businesses for many months to come. It's my prediction.
And well, it's a great point, and I'm bringing up the graphics again, and I'm sure kind of you can relate to a lot of this. In terms of how you've increased prices, I mean, I guess waiting since October till now, that's 5 months waiting for a shipment. I'm not sure what you expect. Was it supposed to come in November, or like how delayed was it?
10 days.
How
10
many days?
days,
10 days?
2 weeks top. Yeah.
Okay. So not terrible. But how have you, I mean, basically, have you been able to, and you're right, consumers expect higher prices. I mean, this is what everyone's talking about. So, but have you been able to balance it that way, or not quite? Your costs.
Not quite yet. You mean in terms of the funds needed to to cover? Not yet, because again, we're talking about months of delays,
Mhm.
everything, which means also delays in getting paid. Not
Right.
only all the a whole gap on sales during the pandemic,
Mhm.
but now a whole gap on receivables because because of the delays.
Got it.
And inflation, it's a given, and everybody is it's preparing for preparing or assuming that that's a reality, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, interesting. One of the things that I've observed a lot is that just like the survey reiterates, but it's a cash flow problem. And there's a lot of businesses, right? There's a delay now between, I mean, like you just described, but how, besides EIDL, it sounds like, I mean, I'm really happy to hear that you navigated relatively painlessly compared to a lot of folks. And we've seen every possible, nightmare scenario for some folks. Is more EIDL funding a possibility for you? Or if not, are you looking at other options? How are you going about that?
Well, it would be great if EIDL would expand, or would increase more funding in the near future. Yeah, there are always other options. Not the greatest in terms of interest rate and in terms of eligibility for businesses that are smaller, that had a dip in the last year and a half. So, I'm talking about the traditional banking system. EIDL has been again, and I'm not gonna get tired of mentioning this. It's been a tremendous help for and long-term help for businesses that are that are trying to, that they initially were trying to stay survive the pandemic, but that also, because of long-term low interest rate and substantial funding, are going to be able to expand in terms of, for example, in our case, that was a plan that we had in 2000, at the, that it was to be implemented in 2020. We're trying to bring it back 2022 to expand our business in terms of verticalization, because of different things, different factors in the market that are going to be good for us to expand and to make more stuff here in the United States. So I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because I know I have just a few minutes.
Well,
But
I mean, I could talk supply chain all day and how you're thinking about de-risking some areas because, yeah, I'm sure it's affected your business quite a bit, sourcing, getting the stuff in.
exactly, to be less dependent on other vendors, being international vendors, and even in the United States. I mean, here people that they get their domestic suppliers, they get stuff from overseas.
Mhm.
So we want to somehow expand and look to depend less on those vendors. But this is something that we've been thinking about for the longest time because of the policies that have been implemented and everything in terms of companies having a portion of a production done domestically. So it did stop because of a pandemic. It did stop because we didn't have enough money, but it could be and hopefully it will be a possible 2022, 2023 for us if, and
Yep,
if we get a
absolutely.
little bit more funding, it'll be just 120% sure.
Right. Well, I mean, I always love, I mean, since you've been at it for 15 years now, if I'm doing the math in my head correctly, is that right?
Yeah, almost
Um,
15.
was there a
14
point,
and
or was there a point during, I mean, maybe early on in the pandemic, prior to the first EIDL funding or that increase, where you were really having doubts about? I mean, you said it had a major impact, but just would love to hear kind of like, was there a moment in time where you were questioning whether you could keep it going?
where you're getting into the small business or the entrepreneur soul.
Mhm,
That's our way of living. We have many points in time where we struggle in so many ways. Again,
mhm.
being a small business, cash flow issues, you name it. We've gone through everything. But like I always say to my partners and our employees, if we've done it before, we can keep doing it. We've survived almost 15 years, so that's not a bad record. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you tuned in last week too, you know the theme similar to yourself as well as determination and resilience. But I think every entrepreneur
Absolutely, yes.
who's been at it is at that point. But and certainly, I mean, I'm really happy to hear that news. And if there's anything that you want to share, we're going to link to your links in the description. I'm not sure if we can do it live, but after the live, we will as well. But is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, the only thing I would like to share, and this is something that we learned, like thankfully early on, being a small business, you always think like a small business is something kind of, entropic and chaotic and all that. I think the key is to bring that to a very well thought out structure. Organization is key. Resilience, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason I think we were successful with EIDL, and just bring it to the topic that you guys are covering through your content, it is to keep things organized.
Mm-hmm.
Taxes up to date, everything. Debt is not a problem because we all have debt, but having everything in order, because that's what helped us when the SBA will call or send an email. Oh, we need this information. Oh, here you have it. And we need the taxes. Here you have it. So everything we were asked every time, we had it ready. So that is, I think, a very important thing for every small business, to be organized and to keep on
Mm-hmm.
top of everything, because you never know. And number one, because it's a good practice, of course.
Right.
But there's always a possibility, that somebody asks you, the government, a client, a big opportunity, and if you have everything ready, that you have just to, gather the information and present it on time, a good set of information. I think that's a very helpful thing.
That's a great point. It's hard to do. I mean, that's not one of my strengths, but
Well, I know. It took, like I say, it took us a long time, but we did it, and I think that was part of the number one of our ability to survive the pandemic.
Right.
In terms of cutting costs where it was possible to do it, and also on the ability to provide all the information requested by the SBN and for everybody on time, and the way we were able to to get the funding quickly and have the right answers, everything,
Amazing. Yeah,
all bases covered.
that's a great. Yeah, I think so many people that had difficulty was because they didn't know where to pull it, and they put the wrong information, and that's what set off the flags. Once a flag goes off in the SBA file, it's good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, we've helped lots of people get through it, but it's always more difficult. But it's such a pleasure to have you and to hear your story, and really thank you again for.
Thank you,
yeah.
Ryder. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
So there's a huge thank you to Eliana, and really a pleasure to have you. And I want to share a little bit of data before we bring in Diana. So for everyone joining, thanks for tuning in. We have lots of survey data, which backs up what Eliana just shared about. Well, first of all, to stay organized, and businesses still need funding, of course, but there's some things that she's doing to pass on costs to try to make ends meet, but there's still cash flow problems. I just want to pull, so this is on the Skip blog. You can go check it out, or you can follow us as well. We're going to answer questions in 15 minutes specific to funding, inflation, and EIDL. Here's a Goldman Sachs survey. This just came out last month. So there's a couple main points I want to mention here. Here are the takeaways here. So 69% of small businesses had negative supply chain issues. So just like Eliana just said, waiting a long time for that shipment to come in. 66% in this article here, in this report, say suppliers are favoring large businesses. So, right, if suppliers are making choices, go with the big client or a small business based in Philadelphia, they're, if there's bottlenecks, they're going to favor, the larger businesses, the larger clients. And a couple more takeaways in this article here. We will link to it in the description. 84% have experienced inflationary pressures, and as 76% of those folks say it's negatively impacted their business. I mean, this is obvious. We've talked about many times here, but just to put some numbers from Goldman Sachs here. And here are some of the headlines as well. Well, without further ado, Diana, I want to loop you in as well. And let me see here if I can do that correctly here. Diana, welcome. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for joining. Really a pleasure. And I think you're based in LA, and you're the owner of Complete Trinity.
Correct.
You founded a holistic healing center in 2011, and you have 4 employees. Looks like you were successful in EIDL funding, despite being denied a couple times. So certainly want to hear the fun you had going through the process there. But also more importantly, as you're trying to expand your business, especially because for folks who aren't coming in person, certainly want to hear some of those challenges. But just a huge thank you for joining and being willing to share your story as well.
Of course, thank you for holding this platform, because so many of us feel utterly lost without a platform like yours, because everything is so automated and everything's online. You can't talk to real people anymore. Of course, from their perspective, we have to be understanding that the pandemic hits, they're also overwhelmed and they're getting yelled at and they're receiving what us frustrated business owners are trying to so desperately get help for. So trying to be compassionate on both ends, right? This is also taking quite a mental toll on a lot of people. So it's just being mindful as much as possible. And I was one of those people that's like, I'm okay. We're writing this. We have a supportive landlord, so we're just going to write it out. And, then it started to prolong it. The pandemic, was supposed to be a shutdown for 2-3 weeks. We're here 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was kind of late in the game in applying, because I kind of felt like, well, we're okay. We were kind of an essential business, and, other people need more help than we do. So we kind of backed off from applying, with anything, because we wanted to be more mindful of the smaller businesses that really did need help. So, but when this got prolonged way too long, we got really nervous. And just to give you a little bit of background on our story, we were in a 600 square foot little tiny office with just 2 colonic rooms. And our rent was only $1,500, and we were there for 8 years. And it was one of those things that we're just like, well, for me and my perspective, the only way, and you'll hear all entrepreneurs say this, well, if you want to grow, you need to expand. You have to take that leap of faith and allow yourself to just get out of your comfort zone and allow yourself to grow and get the help. Because I've always been of that mindset before, if I can't do it myself, no one's going to do it right. So I finally said, well, let's expand. And, I had been eyeing this place for about 2 years. And I said, okay, I'm terrified of moving on. Our rent was only $1,500 there also. And
what part of LA? Where in LA?
I'm in Studio City, so I'm in the San Fernando Valley. But yeah, it was one of those things that we're like, okay, this amazing place is available all of a sudden, just out of the blue, that I had actually had my eye on, and took the leap of faith. It's now a 3,000 square foot space, and our rent jumped from $1,500 to $11,000 a month. So we're in a very prestigious area where we're right in the Studio City, where a lot of artists and celebrities and stuff live here. So we're like, we can charge a little bit more. We've got all this extra space. We can add services like cryotherapy and infrared sauna, and just really, in this space of 3,000 square feet, we literally can create like another 6-7 businesses, rental income, other services, and so forth. Where before it was just colon hydrotherapy.
Have you been able to move? Have you been able to do that growth since you moved?
Well, the unfortunate thing is, when we finally got the keys to the space, it was February 20th of 2020. We had 3 weeks to create the plumbing here, paint, and as soon as we were done painting, the first shutdown happened. So we literally prepared the place for a shutdown. And it was terrifying, because it's like, now our rent isn't $1,500 a month, it's $11,000 a month. So my landlord felt very, very sorry for us. And he said, look, I know you're terrified. I know this is a brand new territory for you, but we'll support you. It's okay. Let's just wait to see how long this goes. And he's like, don't worry about paying right now. Just keep going. Just keep going. We shut down our doors, but we only kept our doors open for emergency clients, because we have a lot of clients that are very ill. And literally, I hope the audience doesn't get so grossed out, but if they're not coming to see us, they're not going to the bathroom at home. So they literally have to come here to stay alive. So we kept our doors open for them. And then little by little, we started seeing that we were approved to be an essential business, and we just continued on, and we were able to write it out. But then things started, with the inflation. A bottle of Lysol wasn't no longer $2-3 a bottle. Now it's $45 a bottle. And on top of that, the medical cleaning supplies that we need for the type of business that we have. So, like I said, we coasted until we hit that panic button. And luckily, we were able to find someone that could help us find an end for the SBA. And at that point, they were kind of approving rather rapidly. So we were able to get ours within a week. And we got approved for $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that literally helped us pay off construction costs that we had accrued, loans that people had donated, or, not donated, but had let us borrow. So we had to pay them back. And then I cut my landlord a big check to cover the rest of the rent for the year. So
was this so this was probably May or June or in 2020?
I got funded October of 2020. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, so in October. So that's why it's a few months later than when
Correct.
People were really going after it. But you were able to get approved on the first time. But you were still, so then talk me through kind of, you went back for an increase and then had
when we saw that, because once the doors started to open again, we're starting to see, we have a very interesting business, we have very little competition. It's not a glamorous job. And everybody needs to poop. So after the pandemic, we saw the mental decrease for a lot of clients because there was suicidal thoughts, there was depression, there was constipation, because now we can't afford to eat organic inexpensively, or at least relatively affordable organic food. So people are starting to eat McDonald's and Jack in the Box and doing whatever's cheapest to be able to extend the money that they do have. So people were coming to us because they're like, look, I've been indoors for the last year. I am so constipated. I'm so sick. So everybody started coming to us. So that we started to see this influx and, steady growth and increase. And then when we saw that it just kept prolonging, we said, maybe we should have something again once we heard about the increase as a reserves in case this continues on. But then we got denied. And the reason why we got denied is because when we applied, the person that helped us apply said, look, you've had history at this other address. Don't red flag yourself. Keep the same address in your application and they'll approve you faster. So that's what we did. So now that we're in this new location, they're seeing this discrepancy of the old address and the new address. They're just like, are you really a legitimate business? Are you real? We've submitted everything that we could, but then there's the backlogs with the taxes and, we need another 4506T. We never received it. So it's been very, very frustrating. And now that we're into year 2, now we're panicking. This is we've coasted, we've been good, but once Omicron hit, we really felt it. We really felt it after Omicron because everybody got sick. Like left and right. And we just people were canceling left and right. I don't think I should come in. I have symptoms. I don't want to come in. I'm scared. People stopped coming because they were just scared to be outdoors, period. And just the phone slowed down. And of course, people do come in waves, gets really, really busy. Then it's just flatlined. So we're a little nervous at this point, to be honest with you.
It's got to be tough coming from Omicron. Okay, so now that we're finally
and that's the war. The war definitely has really wiped people's outlook on the future because everything's so expensive. The inflation, it's hard to afford anything. They can't afford to see us. And then we're hearing news about people going cashless everywhere, and just there's so many theories and conspiracy theories that people don't know what to do and people are just shutting down. And we're here to hold space for everybody, hoping that we can help them see a brighter day when we're still trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel ourselves as well.
Absolutely. It's essential. What you're doing is, of course, essential and it's so critically important. I guess when you think ahead, besides this, like the shifting from in-person, especially now with everything that's happening, besides the rent, which is a big expense, and your team, of course, I assume those are the biggest expenses, your rent probably, but I'm sure it's an amazing space.
It's beautiful. Look at our website. It's a gorgeous space.
Yeah,
We're so happy here.
I will link to the website, and we'll let everyone in LA know about it as well. And same with Eliana's businesses too. I guess back to those kind of the survey data I showed earlier in terms of like you thinking, okay, well, you need to get more funding and finally get approved, or are you thinking, how are you thinking about that now? Like additional funding?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to report that we finally got word from the SBA 2 days ago, and it's the same thing. We need another 4506T. We need to make sure your addresses match from before till now. And I'm like, but if you look at our website, it's going to show that we're at this, beautiful new location. Are we going to get red flagged again? And I so wish that I could get someone on the phone and go, look, we're a legitimate business. We were here. We moved right before the shutdown. Please hear us out. Like we just need help. You know what I mean? Because it does look kind of fishy, and with all the fraud that was happening with the PPP and the EIDL, and people got millions of dollars, it left us legitimate business owners kind of high and dry, because now they're scrutinizing our every move. And they don't want to believe us. And me having the previous address to this one, they're like, wait a minute. And they'll, instead of just picking up the phone and saying, hey, Diana, tell us why this discrepancy is here, they're just denying it. Now, that's 2 denials in, and then 1 final email 2 days ago to say, hey, Diana, we need another 4506T from you. So that's what's in the works. Are we going to get word? I don't know at this point. And I've tried to be because I do spiritual work, so as spiritual as we want to be, the physical aspect of a brick and mortar can be terrifying, and I really don't know if we'll be open this time next year.
Well, it's a tough. I mean, I don't know if you saw the last week the folks we talked to, but Pam, that she had been denied 6 times and she stuck with it.
Hope. She gave me hope. Yes.
So there's lots of hope, and I don't know if I couldn't recall if you're talking with someone on our team or not to help.
I'm talking to Alicia. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So certainly, like, if there's any, I mean, that's our mission, is help folks. And I mean, it's a good. I mean, I'll loop in David here in a minute, because obviously there's a lot of people in that same boat. It's just like you cannot wait any further. And David, I'm gonna add you in here. So
hi, David.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
All right. Yeah, so that 4506T issue is very common, especially if you've changed addresses.
Yeah.
So some people, what they do is they put in their 2019 address on that 4506T, no other address.
Right. Then
there's others that'll put their current address where it goes, and under previous address, the 2019 address. If you've done that already and that didn't work, I would just put at the current address, just put the 2019 address, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I know that they're checking out your website and they see this new space that looks nothing like what we had before with a totally new address. Then a lot of times they won't even bother doing the research, and they'll just be like, okay, denied. We got other people to fund. I mean, how do you get past the hurdle of not speaking to a live person?
Yeah, well, as far as the 4506T, that's the only place where you'll put the wrong address. Everywhere else has the correct address. Everything is right on every other document. That's just the only one where you're putting wrong information, but you're putting in wrong information.
Right.
Yeah, and then speaking to someone, that's until you're assigned a loan officer, and even when you are assigned a loan officer, a lot of times you never speak to them unless there's an issue.
Yeah, I did my first round. I actually spoke to a live person. They asked me a couple of questions to verify, and then I had my funding within a week. So I'm just like, and I keep hearing the rumor, well, if you've been funded before, they'll just press approve, and that's so not true. I don't even have a button on my portal at the SBA, so I was kind of disappointed about that. Because I was looking.
It'd be great if there was just a button
every day.
If there was no delay between the different rounds in the loan, sometimes they do have a very fast turnaround.
Yeah.
If there was more than like a month or 2 of a delay, they're asking for the transcript again, and it just starts the whole battle all over again.
Yeah, I've sent my paperwork at least 10 times to the SBA, and then they'll tell me don't send it again because then we'll trash your stuff because we're annoyed with you now. So I don't know what to do at this point except to wait. And then when I'm waiting too long, I get nervous because now it's like, oh no, the funding might end in March. So it's really like being caught in this limbo and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
I'm sending the 4506T. That's the other thing is we don't use checks. Everything's paid online. So they want an actual physical check, not a direct deposit form, which I didn't know you couldn't do. So they said, send us an actual check that says void on it and send it in. I don't. So I ordered some checks yesterday and they come in tomorrow. As soon as that comes in, then I will send it in. From there, I'm back at square one waiting for a miracle at this point.
All right.
And we're being very diligent. We're here to serve our clients, and we have to keep a straight face because they come in depressed and they come in scared and they come in hopeless. So it's definitely a beat down on all of our mental, our psyche. We're just trying to keep everyone positive as much as possible.
All right.
Yeah. Well, if we if we take Eliana's kind of be resilient, I guess well, certainly we'll connect to, we can get a few folks involved because certainly we want to help you cross the increased finish line there.
Thank you. That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, because it's got to be stressful to know that you're so needed in your community.
Yes.
And that you need to be there, and but you're also being like, but we got to like pay the bills ourselves.
And contrary to what a lot of people think, we actually love what we do because the turnaround that we see when people come in here fighting with their spouses, with their kids, they're depressed and their morale is completely to the floor. They come in and they're like, you've given me a new reason to move forward. Like, thank you so much. That was the clarity and the freedom within my body that I needed so that I feel the stagnation lift and I can actually move forward and do what I need to do to take care of myself and my family. So it's like we're all in it together. So we just got to keep going,
Yeah. It's so important. And it's such a pleasure to learn more about the business and the essential work. Any final thoughts to share with the community, either your community or our viewers as well?
I can honestly say, as someone who's a healer, I do a lot of spiritual work in ceremonial circles. I mean, what I'm seeing with everybody, it's like, we've gone through the black versus the white, the Democrat versus the Republican, the vax versus non-vaxxed. Just pause and just breathe, because everyone is going through something and everyone needs to be heard. Everyone needs to be gotten, and just listen and just smile. If someone smiles at you, just smile back, because we need that right now more than anything. And if you remember that we're still human in a time that we're stuck behind our phones and our computers, and just reconnect, I think that we can all feel better and we can move on a lot stronger and be more unified. And, again, follow your passion. Do whatever you're doing for passion's sake. If you love what you're doing, keep going. And that's probably the best I can offer right now in times that are so uncertain with the war that just begun. So it's the best thing that I can actually say to anybody.
Very important, and very well said. Yeah, I definitely couldn't say it better. So it's such a pleasure to meet and to share these words of wisdom with others too.
Likewise, so thank you so much for this
again,
platform
Diana.
again.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful day. Bye.
You as well. And thanks again. And we'll connect you both, David, because obviously we want to get any funding increase to you as best we can. I mean, but David would obviously, for everyone watching too, this is the time to chime in and ask questions. I think there's a few. I think there's a few coming up here. So, and just to share, to give David to introduce you a little bit, I'm really glad that, David, we can connect you with Diana, and hopefully you guys can connect afterwards too. But, David's one of our senior concierges. I don't know how many hundreds of businesses you've helped navigate the SBA maze. I think maze is a word that someone else used, but you can say maze. But anyway, David, it's great to have you help answer questions.
All right, thanks. I call it bureaucracy, not just the maze.
Yeah. I like the, maze is nicer, right? The maze. Well, so we'll keep an eye on questions here, and but first up here from Jose. Jose had a good one, I think, earlier in the show. I don't know, David, if you want to weigh in on this optimistic viewpoint, or if you've heard anything here on repayments.
If they're going to extend it to 2024, yeah. If you got your first loan in 2022, that's the official answer. Who knows? We don't know. It's all speculation until they write the laws or change anything. So for now,
yeah, but I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but have you heard anything about changing dates? I mean, that's an optimistic viewpoint, but
I hear rumors about forgiveness and all this other stuff, but who knows until it happens? It's speculation.
Yeah, one of the things that we're certainly trying to help prepare people for is understanding if you took a loan, the first origination in May 2020, well, it's March already. So, and even, no, I don't, some people got their first loans in April. So if you got approved in April, you're gonna have to start repaying next month. So I'm not sure people are ready for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is.
So we'll pull up more questions as they come in, but well, here's one from A Chance for Change. Thanks for the question, and thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Also, we're leaving links around these videos as well, obviously to Eliana and Diana, to their businesses in Philadelphia and in Los Angeles, and the links to the blog post we already talked about. Anyway, A Chance for Change. Thanks for asking. Minority-owned businesses in mental health, you haven't gotten any assistance or funding, period. I'm not sure if we can parse out a question there.
Well, there's opportunities out there. There's if let's say, for example, the business doesn't qualify for loans, there are loans also, but if they don't qualify for loans, there are grants, and that can be something that's very good. There's grants for minority-owned businesses, regular businesses. There might even be specifically for mental health. It's just a matter of looking and seeing what's available out there. A lot of times there's groups of certain business types, like maybe mental health advocacy group or something. They might have resources also besides the standard grants that we see.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to echo that before we get to Fred's question is certainly on our blog, we have a lot of the grants. So, and these are free resources. You could just probably Google a lot of times, like Hello Skip grants. Of course, we have our $1,000 grants. I haven't mentioned this yet in the show, but the third Wednesday of every month. So it'll be not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, or we will pick $1,000 grant winners, and we'll probably pick several. Again, it's all based on our YouTube revenue, which we donate most of it back to subscribers of our channel and people who've gone to helloskip.com/1K, free to enter. And we pick several winners, usually on a YouTube live like this. So probably a lot of you are aware. Let's see. Fred asks, I'm a minority-owned, also disabled veteran on business since January 9th, 2019. And Fred, would love to hear kind of what you're struggling with and anything you need. I don't see the question.
I see a note with his name. It said, I didn't get my EIDL grants or anything. So I guess that's part 2 of that.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on our survey here, what we looked at, let's see, 2/3 of, so a third of folks did not get any EIDL targeted grants. So I know you're definitely not alone. I know it was a frustrating process. I mean, I covered targeted grants since that bill was signed into law on December 27th, 2020. It was signed into law, and every day since then, I've seen seen it all. So yeah, but Fred, there are other opportunities. Obviously, that was a important one for a lot of people. But we can help you. I guess on the flip side, one of the things that we wanted to talk about today with David was is right, thinking about like, okay, funding and growing your business, right? So as a business owner, there's a couple main things you care about. Obviously, getting more customers and getting the funding you need, especially if there's gaps like in Diana's story with shutdowns, or in Eliana's story about just supply chain lag between when they're getting paid versus when they're having to pay for inventory. So one of the questions I'll pose and would love to hear in the comments as well is, of course, like how folks are thinking about website growth, website development. I think from Diana's story, there's a lot of like having a brick and mortar is incredible, to be in the community where people can come in and get the help they need. But we know a lot of people have also strengthened their websites over the past year. And you've done a lot here as well. And it's not only just getting a website presence, which is, by the way, step number one. We'll just get up a website and we can help you with that. But get up a website, start to connect with people, get reviews, depending on type of business. David, you want to share a little bit more about kind of this, why online presence is, now more than ever important?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'll make some numbers up just to give you an idea. I want to say it's like 80-90% of searches for a local business are done online. It's no one's pulling out the yellow book anymore. Most people aren't driving around until they can find the specific type of business they're looking for. Usually they just go on Google or Bing or whatever, and they type in, plumber near me, or I'm looking for a plumber, or whatever the business type is. So right now, more than ever, it's important to have a online presence. And then on top of that, there's not just one plumber in the area, there's multiple plumbers. So you want to stand out from the other businesses. So you have to market it. You have, like you mentioned, the reviews can help you stand out. There's marketing, there's backlinks, there's SEO, there's a lot of facets to it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just pulled up some statistics to back up what you're saying, which I think there's a piece, but this is interesting from WP Forums, which supports WordPress, obviously one of the most popular. I think they may say it here, how popular WordPress, Wix, Weebly, all of these things that make it easy to get a website. 64% of small businesses have their own website. Here's the source for that. 35% of small business owners feel that their business is too small for a website. So I certainly would like to debunk that myth. I think everyone, every man, woman, and child should, everyone has social media for the most part, but especially if you want to connect with customers, to have some online presence is important. What's this one here? Well, this is interesting to see that 19% of small business owners without a website believe that their business would grow 25% in 3 years or less with the benefit of a website. So lots of factoids here. I think the long of the short is, especially with to try to tie some of this information up with inflation, with some of these in-person problems, people getting used to being online, certainly helping small business owners find more customers online. If I had to pick one, I'd say that's probably one of the number one things you can do. I don't know if you'd agree with that, David.
Yeah, it's your online. Everyone looks for everyone online nowadays. If you tell me, I meet you somewhere and you say, "Hey, my name's Ryder," what do I do if I want to talk to you again? I just search for you online and I find your presence online. Same with a business. You know, it's your 24/7 business card. You know, it's your marketing machine. It's your business card. It's always online 24/7. It can be selling for you. So you don't even have to answer your phone all day. But at nighttime, your business closes. Your online marketing machine is still working for you. Your website.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I guess to wrap here, by the way, a lot of great comments here. You know, thanks to, so would love to hear people chime in on inflation, some of these things. But to finish the thought on the website, I guess, David, what would your recommendation be? Obviously, besides people come contact us at Skip. So if you go to the link above, there's different options we'll help you with. But what else should people be thinking about to end today?
Just do it. You know, if we're talking websites, do it. Whether we help you do it or not, it's so important for every business out there. You know, there's very few exceptions of businesses that won't gain from having a website.
Mm-hmm. Well, well said. I'm glad we could bring that in at the end of the live today. Really huge thank you to everyone who's commented. It's amazing to see so many familiar faces all the time. And obviously, we will be doing more of these. The most important thing is, of course, a huge thank you to Eliana and Diana for joining and sharing their story. And just to say, you know, their words are stay organized. That's Eliana's word. And then I think Diana's was come together, right? And the other great point that she ended with as well about, you know, kind of staying positive. But it's great to see everyone. And we can't wait to have more small business owners on our next live, pick $1,000 grant winners, all of the good stuff to help you as a small business owner. And thanks again, and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. We'll see you soon.